The 2015 recruiting class had a number of pretty memorable running backs. Some panned out in college, while a lot didn't. Today, we're going to be taking a look back at the top 10 running back recruits from the 2015 class, and whether or not they lived up to the hype. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. I'm posting college football videos all off season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. Is there a recruiting class you'd like to see a video on? Drop a comment down below and it could be my next video. For today's top 10 rankings, we're going to be taking a look into the 24/7 Sports composite rankings. We'll start off today's list at number 10 with Mark Walton. He attended Booker T. Washington High School in Florida. As a senior, he rushed for 1,500 yards with 22 touchdowns. He opted to stay close to home as he committed to Miami. As a true freshman with the Hurricanes, he quickly emerged as one of the top offensive weapons on the team. He finished the regular season with over 1,000 all-purpose yards, the second most for Miami. He rushed for 9 touchdowns, leading the team while also adding 22 receptions and a receiving touchdown. Walton was even better for his sophomore campaign. He was the team starter and finished the season with over 1,100 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns. He also caught 27 passes for 240 yards with the receiving touchdown. Walton was on pace for an even better junior season, but his year was cut short after only 4 games due to an injury. He rushed for over 400 yards, averaging 7.5 yards a carry with 3 rushing touchdowns. Instead of returning for another season, Walton declared for the NFL draft. He was selected by the Bengals in the 4th round. Overall, he finished his rookie season with only 14 carries and 34 rushing yards. That offseason, Walton was arrested 3 separate times, and that turned out to be the real end of his NFL career. He was released by the Bengals, but was signed with the Miami Dolphins later that offseason. But in November, he was suspended 4 games by the NFL for violating the league's personal conduct and substance abuse policies for his offseason arrests. The Dolphins waived him in November of 2019 after his 4th arrest of the year. His suspension was lifted in December, but Walton was suspended an additional 8 games by the NFL in November of 2020. He was reinstated in January of 2021, but that was the end of his NFL career. Since then, Walton has been arrested a number of other times as well. Up next is Soso Jamabo. He attended Plano West High School in Texas. Although he was number 9 on 24/7, he was a lot higher on many other outlets. He was Scout's number 1 ranked running back and was a top 25 overall player on Rivals.com. ESPN also had him listed as the number 4 running back recruit. He was a first-team USA Today All-American selection and ran for over 2,200 yards with 44 rushing touchdowns as a senior. He ended up committing to UCLA. Jamabo's career didn't pan out with the Bruins at all. In his 4 seasons with UCLA, he rushed for only 1,200 yards with 13 rushing scores. His best season came during his junior year when he rushed for over 450 yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. After his UCLA career, he really just fell off the map. I couldn't find any articles on him after he left UCLA and couldn't even find anything on social media. Up next at number 8 is Chris Warren III. He played at Rockwall High School in Texas. As a senior, he rushed for over 2,300 yards, averaging 10 yards a carry to go along with 34 rushing touchdowns. Arguably the best running back in the state of Texas, Warren chose to stay close to home and commit to Texas. During his freshman season, Warren finished 4th on the team in rushing yards with just under 500. He was also 3rd in rushing touchdowns with 4. During his first 6 games, he rushed only 18 times for 88 yards, but he rushed for 380 yards and 4 touchdowns over his last 2 games. He set the Texas single-game freshman rushing record with 276 rushing yards. He also set the Texas single-game freshman record for rushing touchdowns in a game with 4. He only saw 4 games of action his sophomore season as he suffered a season-ending injury. In his 4 games, he rushed for just under 400 yards with 3 rushing scores. Warren returned a year later, but had his worst season. In 12 games, he rushed for a career-low 214 yards, averaging a career low 4.4 yards a carry. He did rush in 6 touchdowns and have over 200 yards in the receiving game, but Warren didn't take the leap that many people were expecting. He went undrafted in the 2018 NFL Draft and signed with the Raiders as an undrafted free agent. After a strong preseason, he was placed on the injured reserve in September with a knee injury. A year later, Warren was waived by the Raiders, which marked the end of his playing career. Up next is LJ Scott, who had probably the most successful collegiate career of any running back up until this point in the video. He attended Hubbard High School in Ohio. During his senior season, he was named as a finalist for Ohio's Mr. Football Award. He rushed for 2,800 yards, averaging 10 yards a carry and over 215 yards a game. He also had 38 rushing scores as well. Instead of staying in-state and playing for Ohio State like many expected, Scott committed to Michigan State. He really jumped onto the scene as a true freshman as he led the team in rushing yards with 700. His 11 rushing touchdowns were also the most on the team as he became the first freshman to lead Michigan State in rushing since 2009. He got even better his sophomore season as he led the team in rushing yards, carries, and total touchdowns. He rushed for 1,000 yards and had 7 touchdowns on the season while averaging 5.5 yards a carry. LJ Scott was named honorable mention All Big Ten by the media his junior season. He led the Spartans in rushing for the 3rd straight season with 900 yards on a career-high 200 carries. He also had a career-high 20 catches for 145 yards with a score. He led the team in all-purpose yards, averaging 87 yards a game. Instead of declaring for the NFL Draft, Scott opted to return for his senior campaign. Injuries cost him half of his season as he appeared in only 5 games, but his numbers were down across the board as he rushed for only 265 yards in those 5 games while averaging a career low 3.3 yards a carry. He also didn't have a single rushing touchdown on his 79 carries. Scott went undrafted in the NFL Draft, but joined the Baltimore Ravens and attended the team's rookie minicamp. He then proceeded to sign with the Cleveland Browns, but his time there was short-lived as he retired from football after only 2 days in the organization. The next name on this list should be a pretty familiar one in Saquon Barkley. He attended Whitehall High School in Pennsylvania. One of the top running backs in the nation, Barkley stayed close to home and committed to Penn State. Well, you guys know the rest. Barkley had an electric career with the Nittany Lions. He finished his time at Penn State as their all-time rushing touchdown leader with 43. He also was the all-purpose yards career leader with over 5,500 yards. Barkley also finished number 2 in Penn State's career rushing yards list with over 3,800 yards, trailing Evan Royster by less than 100 yards for the most in program history. Saquon was drafted by the Giants with the 2nd overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. He was named the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2018 and has made 2 Pro Bowls since. During his NFL career, Barkley has already rushed for over 4,200 yards with 29 rushing touchdowns. He's also caught 247 passes for 1,800 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns as well. Number 5 is Derrius Guice, who went to Catholic High School in Baton Rouge. He stayed close to home as he committed to LSU. As a backup running back his freshman season, he finished 2nd on the team with over 400 rushing yards on 51 attempts, averaging 8.5 yards a carry. Once again, Guice entered his sophomore season as the backup running back, though he saw much more playing time. In 12 games, he led the SEC in rushing yards with 1,400. He also ranked 2nd in the league in rushing yards per game, averaging 115 yards. He led SEC running backs with 15 rushing touchdowns while averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Guice rushed for 100 or more yards 6 times, including a school record 285 yards and 4 touchdowns against Texas A&M. As the full-time starter for LSU his junior season, Guice finished the year named 2nd team All-SEC. He led LSU and ranked number 2 in the SEC in rushing yards per game, while rushing for over 1,200 yards with 11 rushing scores. Guice declared for the NFL Draft, where he was one of the top running back prospects. He was drafted number 59 overall by Washington. In his first preseason game of the year, Guice suffered a torn ACL, which ended his season. The following year, he dealt with even more injuries. Overall, he appeared in 5 games, rushing for 250 yards with 2 rushing scores. Guice was then waived by the team in August of 2020 following charges of domestic violence. After the charges were dropped in 2021, the NFL suspended Guice for the start of the 2021 season for 6 games. That marked the end of Guice's NFL career up until that point. But just a month ago, Guice signed with the Vegas Nighthawks of the Indoor Football League. Up next at number 4 on our list is Jacques Patrick. During his senior season at Timber Creek High School in Florida, he rushed for 2,600 yards with 32 touchdowns en route to be named the Florida Gatorade Player of the Year. He stayed close to home and committed to Florida State. As a true freshman, Patrick appeared in 9 games and made only 1 start. He rushed for over 300 yards with 5 touchdowns. In his lone start of the season, he rushed for 160 yards with 3 touchdowns. As a sophomore, Patrick served as Dalvin Cook's backup and appeared in all 13 games, finishing the season with 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. He finally got a chance to be a starter his junior season, as he had the best year of his entire career. Patrick rushed for 750 yards with 7 touchdowns, while catching 21 passes for 200 yards as well. His numbers took a significant hit during his senior season. He rushed for only 380 yards on 103 carries. It was the first season in which he didn't average more than 5 yards a carry, as he averaged only 3.3 yards a carry. Patrick originally signed in the XFL in 2020, but the season was shut down due to COVID. He bounced around numerous NFL practice squads, going from the Bengals, 49ers, Panthers, Ravens, and back to the Bengals again. He was recently drafted in the XFL by San Antonio, and so far in the season, he's rushed for over 100 yards with a rushing score. Damien Harris comes in at number 3. During his senior season at Madison Southern, he rushed for 1,500 yards with 23 touchdowns in only 7 games. The year prior, he rushed for 2,600 yards with 42 touchdowns as a junior. Harris committed to Alabama, where he joined a pretty stacked running back room. After not seeing much playing time during his freshman season, Harris burst onto the scene his sophomore year. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaging more than 7 yards a carry. Harris then rushed for 1,000 yards again his junior season, but upped his rushing to 7.5 yards a carry. He also scored a career-high 11 rushing touchdowns. Damien Harris opted to return for his senior season, and he saw his numbers take a bit of a hit. He still rushed for 900 yards and had 9 rushing scores, but it was his worst season since his freshman campaign. Overall, Harris finished his Alabama career with over 3,000 rushing yards and 25 total touchdowns. He was drafted by the Patriots in the 3rd round of the 2019 NFL Draft. In his 4 seasons with New England, Harris rushed for 2,100 yards with 21 rushing touchdowns. His best season by far was in 2021 when he rushed for nearly 1,000 yards with 15 touchdowns. He recently signed with the Buffalo Bills. Up next at number 2 is an interesting one in Johnny Frazier. He was a beast at Princeton High School as he rushed for 2,200 yards with 33 touchdowns. He committed to NC State, where he didn't really have any sort of career. Frazier redshirted in 2015 and saw action in 4 games from scrimmage the next season, but he missed the last 6 games with an injury and had shoulder surgery in November of 2016. And that's really it. In May of 2017, NC State reported that Frazier decided to leave the team to concentrate on academics and rehab from his shoulder surgery. The latest info I was able to find on him was that in 2019, he was on the Fayetteville State roster, but that's it. I think I found him on LinkedIn, and it says he's the owner of Frazier's Logistics in North Carolina. Coming in at number 1 as the top-ranked running back of his class is Ronald Jones. He made the 2014 Prep All-Star All-America Dream Team and the USA Today All-Texas team as a senior running back at McKinney High School in Texas. He ran for 2,000 yards and 28 touchdowns as a senior. As a junior, he rushed for 2,400 yards, averaging 10 yards a carry with 39 touchdowns. Jones opted to go west and committed to USC. As a true freshman, he appeared in all 14 games and had a team best 1,000 yards, averaging 6.5 yards a carry with 8 rushing touchdowns. He joined Lendale White as the only true freshman to lead USC in rushing in a season. His 987 rushing yards also broke Heisman Trophy winner Charles White's 39-year-old USC freshman rushing record. In 2016, Jones ran for a team-high 1,100 yards with 12 rushing scores. He ran for a touchdown in each of his last 7 games and had 4 multi-touchdown games that season. As a junior, he rushed for 1,500 yards with 19 rushing touchdowns. He was 5th nationally in rushing touchdowns, 6th in total touchdowns, and 14th in rushing. He was awarded pretty much every first-team honor you could possibly win. He was also a finalist for the Earl Campbell Award and was a semi-finalist for the Doak Walker Award. Jones was drafted by the Buccaneers with the 38th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. As a rookie, he only had 23 carries. It wasn't until 2019 in which he saw a bigger role, as he rushed for over 700 yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. 2020 was by far the best season of his NFL career as he rushed for 1,000 yards with 7 rushing scores. His numbers came down significantly in 2021 as he rushed for 400 yards with only 4 scores. Jones then signed with the Chiefs in 2022, but barely saw the field as he had only 17 carries on the season for 70 yards. It's actually pretty ironic because while writing the script for this video, Ronald Jones signed a contract with the Cowboys. Well, that wraps it up for today's top 10. Which running back on today's list were you surprised didn't pan out in college? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm posting videos all off season, so make sure to subscribe if you call yourself a college football fan. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. Also, if there's a top 10 recruiting class you'd like to see a video on, drop a comment down below and it could be my next video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.